I'd like to welcome each one here this evening. I'd like to begin our meeting by acknowledging the land on which we gather is the traditional territory of Anishinaabe, Ottawa, and Mississauga peoples. And at this time, I'd like to congratulate Greg as on behalf of council and staff, and we're wishing you the very best as you move forward up to Minto as their CAO. All the very best from all of us here. Confirmation of the agenda that the Council of the Township of North Huron hereby approves the agenda for May 21, 2024 council meeting as presented. May I have a mover? Deputy Reeve, seconder, Councillor Van Hitterson. All in favor? Carried. Disclosure of pecuniary interest and the general nature thereof. Seeing none. Public comment. This is an opportunity for members of the public to speak to any item of business on the agenda, 2 minutes per person. Members wishing to speak will need to state their name and the item of business that they wish to speak to. Just press the button on the microphone when you come to the front. Is there anybody?
Steve Hill, this is regarding bylaws, which you have on clearly on your agenda tonight. I've had some recent communications with your CAO. This is regard to do your bylaws apply to private property? His bylaws say they only apply to the corporation's land. And I'd like clarification on this because the email that was sent out, I could see being interpreted in a few ways. But I'd like confirmation on whether you believe or have been directing by law enforcement officers to enforce your corporation's bylaws on private property. So you're not going to answer this question?
I'm sure there'll be an email sent to you about it. Okay?
I just need a yes or no. Are you enforcing your corporation's bylaws on private property?
Yes, yes, we will be.
You will be. So under what authority do you believe you have access to private property? Your bylaws state that it only applies to the corporation's assets. The Municipal Act excludes private property. So on what pretense are you using to enforce on private property?
Well, what you're asking now is not on the agenda, so
bylaws are on the agenda, and where they apply to, I think, is extremely relevant regarding other bylaw. Okay. If you're overstepping your authority, if you think you have authority, your corporation has authority on other property, I want to know who's been directing you and saying this, because your bylaw enforcement officers are refusing to follow through on their threat of my political signs. So the fact that they're still there, it means you either don't have authority or I don't know what. And if you don't, that's clearly harassment. So will you be enforcing your bylaws on private property? You said you would. Are the rest of these counselors, are they following your direction here, or are they equally culpable for any trespass?
Go ahead, Deputy Reed, please. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for your 2 minutes time. Sir, we're talking to
constitutional given right. Section 2, public and press.
Okay. Okay.
So will you be coming to enforce that bylaw as your bylaw officer has threatened to do? She said she has authority on private property because of the township or corporation says so, which I assume is Dwayne Evans as the CEO is directing bylaw enforcement officers to enforce on private property.
Okay. Well, I thank you for your time and for coming this evening and stating your cause. Appreciate your time. Okay.
Yep. Hi, it's Brad Carter. You say bylaws happen, you're going to enforce them on property. My grass gets 6 inches high, you're going to come in and cut it, right?
It's not on the agenda, sir.
Bylaws are. I read the agenda package. But yet we come here tonight, we see weeds over 8 inches high. You guys get away with it, but we have to bow down to worship you. You ain't gods, you're just counselors that can be changed in a couple of years. maybe it's time we have a new election a lot quicker. You're not Trudeau. You think you are, but you're not.
Thank you for your time, sir. Okay, number 5, consent agenda, that the council of the Township of North Huron hereby adopts consent items 5.1.1, and further that council of the Township of North Huron hereby receives consent items 5.1.2 to 5.3.6 for information purposes. Is there any member that wants to pull anything from here? Go ahead, Councillor Palmer, please.
Yeah, thank you, Rick. It's the 5.2.5. Every time this topic comes up, I start cringing. Council has, in the past, on different occasions, voted to maintain the status quo, and then it just comes up again. And it's disturbing. The recommendations on the report, it's very pointed, and I was uncomfortable reading it. It should have said, and with the option to, or if council agrees. And I know in the purpose it says if council. I was glad to see that part, but just wondering where this push for change is always coming. Does it happen every time that there's an election? Because you feel, we make the decisions and we feel that the dog's been put to bed type of thing. So I'm quite upset by it, because it's always a hard argument. And just wondering where this report is actually taking us. Like, if we were to agree with it, what's actually happening? Just telling us that there's going to be a review coming up a year before the election, or what? I know you. Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Yep, thank you, Your Worship. To answer Councillor Palmer's question, so the report is in no way intending to lead you in one way or the other. My job as the clerk is to make sure that you are aware of your legislative timelines as it relates to the election, and that includes timelines associated with ward boundary reviews and council composition reviews. So the report was just for information purposes to outline those timelines. If council wanted to provide direction, then you would do so independent of the direction, and this just being included in the consent agenda, you're just receiving the report on the timelines for information purposes. So I guess this is a standard report. Pretty much every clerk in neighboring municipalities is or will be presenting the same ones to make their councils aware. We did this in the previous term of council, more related to the strategic plan, but similar report outlined the timelines. And around this time in the next term of council and the one after that, you can expect similar reports for information purposes to make sure that myself as the clerk, I'm meeting my obligations in informing you of the required timelines as it relates to the elections.
Go ahead, Councillor Palmer, please.
Yeah, thank you, Reeve. So as for a next step, would it take council to request that we should have a review, it's time, or just nothing? Just do nothing?
Yep. So through your worship, to answer Councillor Palmer's question, if you do not pull this from the consent agenda, there will be no review on ward boundary or council composition in this term of council. You would be receiving the report for information purposes and not be directing any action. If you wanted to provide myself as the clerk direction, you would want to pull this from the consent agenda and pass a motion providing that direction to myself. So in the last term of council, we did a review on council composition, which was an internal review conducted by staff. Ward boundary reviews are generally done by external consultants, given the need to work that through with the community and then justify the rationale to the OLT if there were any appeals. But yeah, so that's basically your options if you don't want to do anything as a council, and that's fully an option. You would just include it in the consent agenda to receive it for information purposes.
Go ahead, Councillor Wright.
So, yeah, Reeve, so that was good discussion and explanation, but I was actually planning to pull 5.2.5 from the consent agenda.
Okay, we have a mover. Do we have a seconder? Oh. Okay, wait, yeah. Any more discussion before we carry on?
Are we gonna deal with 5.2.5 now, or are we just pulling it from the consent agenda and be dealing with it after we?
So we'll deal with the rest of the items first, and then we'll deal with 5.2.5. So your new motion would be that the Council of the Township of North Huron hereby adopts consent item 5.1.1, and further that the Council of the Township of North Huron hereby receives consent items 5.1.2 to 5.3.6, exclusive of 5.2.5 for information purposes.
Okay, we have a mover. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Whitfield? All in favor? Carried. Okay, go ahead, Councillor Wright, please.
Yeah, so as far as the motion I'd like to put forward, I don't think we need to review the ward boundaries. At least that won't be in my motion off the start anyways. I think the ward boundaries work okay. I think though we can look at the number of counselors we have per ward, and well, I mean, I'm sure you'll look at multiple options, but I guess the reason I'm making the motion is I think we can look at the number of counselors we have on each ward and the number of generally elected representatives, right? In my mind, it would be best case to have both the Reeve and Deputy Reeve elected as a general election. I think that'd be an improvement. Certainly you want to keep good people on council, and we're in a situation now where if you have two good counselors that run for Reeve, you're going to automatically lose one of them, right? Where, you know, if you could have a different setup that, you know, the runner-up was the Deputy Reeve. So I'm sure you look at a lot of options, but, you know, generally my motion is not to look at changing the ward boundaries, but just to look the makeup of council.
So Council Wright would be looking at the council composition review portion of the report. So the motion, and again, if Council Wright, if this isn't exactly what you're looking for, feel free to let me know, but it would be something along the lines of that the Council of the Township of North Huron hereby directs staff to prepare a follow-up report conducting a council composition review in advance of the 2026 municipal election.
Second by Councillor. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I would like to add to that maybe to put the ward into review also, being that we are North Huron and we're really not three separate identities. I just feel like the way everything's getting pushed around here and everything, like Wingham's not just going to build a water tower for Wingham. We're going to build it for the future. We're going to put it out into East Wallanosh. East Wallanosh has houses coming and everything too. So there's going to be lights and everything going there. Blythe has subdivisions and everything going also. So I'm questioning the ward division itself for elections.
Okay. Councillor Palmer, please.
Including the wards would be a disaster. This is historical. It would be very hard to change and have people accept it. It would be difficult, let me tell you, at least from East Wallanash, and I'm sure the Blythe ward would as well. But anyways, having the Reeve and the deputy elected, that's possibility. But as far as changing the makeup, like the rest of the council numbers, why? You know, it doesn't make sense. We would not save a lot of money. That is peanuts compared to other savings we could be having. So money can't be the reason. The discussion is so important to have the discussion when we can, because it certainly helps issues get passed cleanly, and everybody gets their say. With smaller numbers. You just have your people are relying on just say one voice in each of the wards, say, to speak for everybody, and that's difficult.
Well, we aren't going to have a debate on this tonight. We're having it for You go ahead,
No.
Carson, Clerk Lamb.
Yeah, so I have Counselor Wright as the mover of the original motion. Counselor Whitfield is looking to amend that motion. The one thing I will note, and again, it was noted in the report, generally your ward boundary reviews are conducted by an external consultant because of the rationale, planning rationale behind that. Not included in the budget, but we could bring back a follow-up report on how we would pay for that. If that was of interest, but again, it all depends on what scope you want for a review, if any. So I guess Council Wright has his original motion on the that you're looking for a seconder for, or Council Wright has the ability to amend that motion if he sees fit.
Go ahead, Counselor Wright.
Yeah, no, I'll leave my original motion as is. Yeah, I didn't think there would be much appetite on the council for going through that right now.
Seconder? Defeated then. Defeated.
So then, if there's no appetite for that, I would say just so it's on the books that you get a motion to receive 5.2.5 for information purposes.
Okay, so that's all we need then for that.
You need a mover and a seconder.
Mover, please. Deputy Reeves, seconder. Counselor Van Henderson, sorry. All in favor? Carry. Public meeting. At this time, we have Ryan DeVries from BM Ross and Associates Limited with the water and wastewater works and financial plans. We welcome Ryan to the podium, please. And we'll let Ryan present, and then afterwards, I'm sure he'll be looking forward to some questions.
Okay, thanks for having me. As he mentioned, I'm Ryan DeVries and was working on the water and wastewater financial plans recently. So we'll start with the water. I was told to keep this brief, so I'm going to try and hit on the highlights and hopefully not take too much of your time up tonight. We have around 1,850 customers. Total net book value of the water system, so this is all of the water systems combined, right now is 14 mil. And the replacement cost, if you were to replace the entire system today, is 61 mil. The average life expectancy of all of the water assets is 72 years, but the weighted remaining life of those assets is 39 years. And your current rate of replacement is 37 years. Looking recently at what's happened, 2023, there was a rate increase of 7.2%. 2024, it was 8.2%. And then looking at the current situation, so this year, your revenue would be expected to be about 1.6 million. And the cost to operate the water system about 0.8 million. Your amortization expense on the water assets is 0.3 mil. And there's no debt, and the reserves are pretty healthy at just under 11 mil. So when we create the plan, we look at a certain period of time. You have to do at least 6 years. Staff here chose a 10-year plan. There's a number of assumptions that go into that plan in order to project moving forward. So some of those assumptions are shown here. You got operating costs going up 3% per year. Energy costs a little bit higher at 5%, contracted services at 3%. And then we assumed an increase of 9 customers per year starting in 2025. Assumed interest made on your reserves is 1.5%. So you see there's a little bit of a difference from previous years, I think, stemming from some higher recent construction costs. We're a little bit more conservative on the operating cost projections moving forward and a little less optimistic maybe on the interest. So new debentures, 2025, staff was suggesting a 5 mil debenture for the water tower We took that at 15 years and 6% interest. And in total, over that 10-year period, there's 6.1 mil in capital upgrades planned and carried in the plan. All right, so the plan goal is really to come up with a cost recovery plan to ensure adequate funding to operate, maintain, and replace infrastructure moving forward. And we came up with 3 different options on how you might do that. Option 1 is really shown as a base case. It's not something that we would recommend, but it shows what would happen if you did not increase at all, where you would be in 10 years. Option 2 came down to a 2.5% increase, and the goal there was setting your rate of replacement by the year 2033 to match your current average life expectancy of your water assets. Option 3 was a 6% rate increase, and the goal there was by 2033, your rate of replacement would match your current remaining life expectancy of your assets. And from that, we recommended option 3, being that it's the most sustainable approach. Council can adopt one or none of the options. They can pick something entirely different if they chose to. But something has to be picked and a resolution has to be put forward in order for you to apply for your municipal drinking water license renewal come December. From there, I'd go into the water or wastewater plant, but maybe it's beneficial to take some questions on the water one before we lose or forget about some of that information.
Are there any questions from members about the water? Okay, we'll go to Councillor Wright and then to Councillor Palmer, please.
Yeah, thanks. Through you, Reeve. Just a couple things. I know you mentioned it in your report, but the fact that we're going to have a lot more than 9 customers a year, at least hopefully, over the next few years, does that significantly change would that significantly change the options we have here? Like, would the option 3 be significantly different if we were adding a lot more than 9 customers per year?
It won't be significant. It will have an impact. Originally, when we set the plan up, we started with 0 new customers, and then we changed it to 9 per year. And I think that tweaked the numbers by 0.5% or something like that. If you think you're going to exceed 9, 9's still a good number because it leans on the conservative side.
Go ahead.
And just to follow up, also the recommendation to take a debenture, 5 million at 6%. If we've got the room in the capital plan, what's the logic of recommending a debenture on that?
My understanding was they were still throwing around ideas on the water tower. We weren't involved with that, but they were looking at 2 different options, and one might be more than the other. So maybe there's a chance you don't need that, but.
Okay. Thank you, Reeve.
You, okay, Councillor Palmer, please.
Yeah, thank you, Reeve. I noticed, I know we're moving forward a little bit, but the wastewater has an option for cost of replacement. Drinking water doesn't. Is there a reason?
The reason being the option 3 actually pretty closely matched what your
Because
full
it's
cost of
mentioned
replacement.
in
Right.
waste as well, though.
Yep. So in waste, it just ended up being a different number.
Okay.
We can get into that when we present the wastewater one, but felt that you needed something a little bit more conservative in there.
All right.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? I just have one little follow-up one. I see you, the revenue for a year was 1.6. And was 0.8. Are those good numbers? Do you feel those numbers are good for the type of water system that we have?
Yeah, currently they're good. I'd go back, but I'd have to go all the way to the start. What you are doing right now, when you look at it from a rate of replacement standpoint, your current water asset remaining life is 39 years. So the difference of that 1.6 and the 0.8 is how much money you have available to go back into your infrastructure. If you divide that by your current replacement cost, you get your rate of replacement. Right now, it's 37 years, which is a little bit less than your remaining average of 39. That's right where you want to be. If you're higher than 39, it means that you're going to start falling behind on replacing things. And then that 39 is going to start dropping. So you're right where you want to be. The problem is moving forward 10 years, when you factor in things like a 3% inflation, you start to fall behind unless you do something. So the goal is to, in 10 years, still be at that 37 years. So
Appreciate that very much. Now, you may go on to the wastewater if there's no other questions.
So the wastewater, it's similar and it's different. There's around 1,850 customers, but now your net book value of the wastewater assets is lower than the water at 8.7. But your replacement cost is actually more at 82. Average life expectancy of all of the wastewater assets is 72 years, but the remaining life is down to 25 years. Current rate of replacement is 67 years. Looking back a couple of years, similar numbers to water, 7.1 in 2023 rate increase, and then 9.3 in 2024. Revenue, 1.3 mil, cost of operating 0.7, and then your amortization expense is 0.2. There's no debt, and again, pretty healthy reserves at 11. Similar assumptions when creating these plans, 3% on the operating, 5 on the energy, 3 on the contracted, again, 9 for customer growth, earned interest at 1.5. Now there's only 1.6 mil in capital upgrades over that 10-year period. So the plan is the same, come up with a way to fund and operate, maintain, and replace the infrastructure. And in this case, we came up with 4 different options. Option 1 being the base case. Option 2, 3.5%. So that would be needed to come up with a rate of replacement matching your current average life expectancy by year 2033. And as Councillor Chris Palmer alluded to, we had an option 3 on this one for a 4.6% rate increase. And that would be revenue in 2033 matching annual cost of replacement. And then an option 4, an 11.2% annual rate increase. And that would be needed for your rate of replacement to match your current remaining life expectancy by 2033. So we recommended option 3 in this case, but noted that now or in the future, the municipality may wish to consider adding a metered charge for the wastewater system. There's not one right now, but there is on the water side. And that would be one of the reasons why you see here the revenue is lower for the wastewater than it is for the water, even though you have the same number of customers. Again, you can pick one of these options, you can pick none of them, you can pick something else altogether. In this case, it's probably best practice to still pass it through a resolution so you have something to stick to, but you don't need to submit this one to the ministry like you do on the water side.
Okay.
With that, I'll take questions on the wastewater.
Okay, thank you. Councillors, any questions?
Yeah, I guess my only remaining question is just the length of term here, 9 or 10 years, depending on how you look at it. Is that very standard? Like, I'm a bit surprised it's not just for the, say, 4 years for the term of council or something. So I don't know if you could comment on that. Is the 10 years kind of a standard that we're following, or where did that come from?
So ministry guidelines say it has to be at least 6 years. And then a lot of municipalities choose to go to 10 just to round it up, I guess. If you start to exceed 10 by a lot, you start to question the value because you're just projecting too far down the road. But 6 to 10 is pretty typical.
Thank you. So you're talking about waste, charging for the waste. Are a lot of municipalities doing that?
Yeah, most that would charge a metered rate for the water would also charge a metered rate for the wastewater. Just again, for the same principle of trying to promote conservation.
Okay. Just curious. So could we ask maybe that council bring back a report or something like that? It's just a thought, or is everybody happy with going just with the 4.6? Go ahead, Deputy Reed, please.
Is the rate charged at the same rate as the water supply? Is that how they do it?
In other places, not always. It's usually pretty close.
Actually meter on the
There's there's never a meter. It's only on the water side.
Okay, Councillor Wright, please.
Yeah, I guess just my thought is that to summarize it, we're in better shape on the water side than the wastewater side, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
But we're actually recommending a lower annual rate increase on the wastewater than the water.
Right. With the added recommendation of adding in a metered charge. So just that % rate increase on its own, and you might start to fall further behind on the water.
But that would be, so if we have to put that in, obviously that would be paid for by the residents too, right? The cost of that metering?
The meter price is usually paid additional, and then you would, what many places do is they'll start to implement a metered portion of the fee as well, because that is a fairly set schedule of replacement.
Right.
Go ahead, Councillor Palmer, please.
Thanks. Yeah, I'm a little bit confused because I always understood that it was charged, what went in came out, same amount. So I was surprised to see that there was a difference. So perhaps we should, council should have a report on matching that up.
I'm just wondering if maybe we could have Chris Gregg just maybe talk to this a little bit to help us out. Sorry, putting you on the spot either,
through you, Reeve, to Councillor, not so much of a question as a comment for you, but we charge a rate for sewer, but it's not based on the actual consumption that is metered. So that is something that can be implemented. Staff can bring a report back. And I believe there was intentions on a report coming back regarding the use of our water meters and the replacement schedule that we may or may not have in place at this time. So sorry, not much for you there. But if council directs, yes, a staff report can come forward.
Okay, any other questions for our speaker today? Okay, go ahead, Councillor or Clerk Lamb, sorry.
So before council is the draft motion, which includes the recommended adoption of the plans for the options 3 and option 3. Staff can add to that motion if council wishes, directing staff to prepare a follow-up report regarding the considering adding a metered charge for the wastewater system, if that's what council's looking for.
Councillor Wright, go ahead.
I guess the issue is that, option 3 only makes sense if we go ahead with putting metering on the wastewater. And we don't know if we want to put metering on wastewater yet or not, because we haven't received that report. So I really wonder if we should be deferring this until after we get that report. Because otherwise, actually, I'm not comfortable that option 3 is if we don't put in metering, I'm not comfortable that option 3 is actually a high enough rate, because it's actually less than what we're increasing the the water by, right?
So if that's what council wants to do, you can do that as a motion as well. So it'd be something along the lines of that the council of the Township of North Huron hereby receives the presentation from BM Ross and Associates Limited dated May 21st, 2024 regarding the water and wastewater works financial plans. And further, that council directs staff to prepare a follow-up report to consider adding a metered charge for the wastewater system prior to making a decision to adopt the financial plans. Generally, I always lean towards not putting timelines in motions. Staff are always cautious of the time it takes to get things done, as well as the time sensitivity of things. So,
So are you fine with that motion?
Yes,
Counselor Wright?
that's good.
Okay.
Thank you, Reeve.
We have a mover, seconder, all in favor? Carried. Thank you very much, Mr. DeVries, and I'm sure you'll be reporting back to us again sometime too. Appreciate that. Clerk's Department, PL 2024-09, Planning Application Fees Review Report from County. Are there any questions for Planner Holman at this time? Seeing none. May I have a mover and a seconder before we, Deputy Reeve, Councillor Whitfield. That the Council of Township of North Huron hereby receives a report of the Director of Planning and Development and the Manager of Planning dated April 18th, 2024 regarding the planning application fees review. And further, that council hereby endorses the updated planning application fees schedule as proposed. And further, that once the finalized fee schedule has been approved by County Council, the Clerk's Department be hereby directed to prepare a bylaw to amend Schedule F of the fees and charges bylaw to adopt the updated planning application fees effective July 1st, 2024. All in favor? Carried. 7.1.2 PL 2024-10 Delegation of Authority on Disputed Consent. Are there any questions for Clerk Lamb? Seeing none. May I have a mover and a seconder? Then I'll read it. Councillor Wright, Councillor McBurney, that the Council of the Township of North Huron hereby receives a report of Deputy Clerk Planning Coordinator dated May 21, 2024 regarding the delegation of authority for undisputed consent applications and undisputed extension of draft plan of subdivision approvals for information purposes. And further, that Council directs Clerk Department to prepare a delegation of authority bylaw for June 3rd, 2024 regular meeting to delegate the authority to comment on undisputed consent application, undisputed extension of draft plan of subdivision approvals to the Director of Legislative Services / clerk. All in favor? Carried. Down to 7.4.1, FA 2024-02 Emergency Generator Tender Results. Are there any questions for Director Furtney? Go ahead, Deputy Reed, please.
Not so much on the quote. Just curious as the current status of the Westcott Center. Rumblings that there may be some more pieces that need to be brought to the Westcott Center. I'm just curious as to whether we should postpone to this until we find out if there's added costs.
Okay, I'll ask our Deputy Director Furtney to comment.
Through you, Reeve, Deputy Reeve Faulkner. I'm not entirely sure of what the rumors are going through, but this project was identified in the capital plan, and those monies are set aside for these 2 generators.
Any other questions for Director Furtney at all? Go ahead, Councillor Palmer, please.
Yeah, thank you, Rave. So most municipalities have an arena that is for cooling and for heating if there's an emergency out there, right? What have we done in the past? I know Belgrave does. They've got a generator.
Through Reeve Heffer to Councillor Palmer. So we've been using, we've designated the two fire halls as one in Blythe and one in Wingham. But both are very small and they wouldn't house as many people as we need to house all at one time. So the Westcast facility is larger and has the facilities to hold many more people. And so this backup generator for that facility is, I think, a welcome opportunity for North Huron.
You? Any other discussions at all? Okay, do I may I have a mover? Councillor Palmer, Deputy Reeve, all in favor? Carried. DW 2024-20 Tennis and Pickleball Court tender results. Are there any questions for Director Fertney at all? Okay, Deputy Reeve, please.
Thank you. Three read that, I hardly endorse the reconstruction of the tennis courts up there. I'm just curious as to, just some clarification that. There we go. Thank you. Through your read, just some clarification on the property that the current tennis courts are on is not owned by North Huron. I'm just curious as to us putting the money into a property that we don't officially own to upgrade. I'm just not sure. I just want some clarification on that, on how that works. Could the school board just take that back at a moment's notice without, I just was just curious about that. Thank you.
Through Reeve Heffer to Deputy Reeve Faulkner. My understanding was that the property belongs to North Huron, so I'll have to get clarification on that for you. This is how I believed this project was going to move forward, so I'll have to get back to you on that, sir.
Go ahead, Councillor Palmer.
Yeah, thank you, Rave, for you. I'm looking at the math and how it's written in the report. Like it was 152.5 thousand, 152,000. And we were fortunate to get that $60,000 grant. So subtract that 92 and then maybe 30 grand-ish to do the extra little things around it. So that's 122,000. But it keeps coming up. Oh, we could have 230. I hate seeing larger numbers than necessary. Is there a reason for it? And sorry, to add to that, keep in your mind, I thought there was going to be some fundraising. So where does that fit in?
Through Reeve Heffer to Councillor Palmer. So the budget that council adopted was $230,000 total for the project. 60,000 of that will come from the Vance Fund, and that'll be used up first. The remaining 170,000 will complete the project. So that's the lowest bid there was 152.5, as you mentioned. So with the 30,000 contingency, we're going to be well under budget once the project is completed. With regards to the fundraising, we've just adopted a fundraising policy a month or so ago. And so we'll be walking the delegates who came to us for the project to walk through that process with us. And I've been told there is one very generous donor already that's ready and willing to donate money to the cause, to the project.
Go ahead.
Good. Just when the money is already secured, it really sort of takes a bite out of, oh, should we fundraise or not? There's no need, heavens. North Huron's got the money, they're gonna do it. So I know it was one of the cart before the horse or whatever things. It's difficult and we'll probably face other issues where the same thing happens. And it's a bother, and we should have that strategized as how do we move forward with projects when we know that there's been talk of fundraising to happen, because they don't, I won't say what I'm thinking.
Yep.
But you know what I'm thinking.
Go ahead, Councillor Wright, please.
Well, through you, Reeve, we have that process now, right? I think we established that process about 3 months ago, that people can come make a presentation, basically make a proposal to council about how much they want council to put in and how much they're willing to fundraise. So yeah, it's too bad we didn't have that in place already prior to this, because it would have been helpful. But you know, we have the right process going forward, I think now, right?
Okay, do I have a mover and a seconder? Are there any other questions first? Okay, and Deputy Reeve, seconder. The Council of Township of North Huron hereby receives a report from the Director of Public Works Facilities dated May 21, 2024 regarding the tennis pickleball court tender results for information purposes. And further, that the council accept the lowest bid price provided by MEI in the amount of $152,572. All in favor? Carried. And we're at 7.5.1, and I appreciate a person being right on time. I'll just read the motion and then I'll turn it back over to Chad, okay? Our Deputy Interim Fire Chief. That the Council of Township of North Huron hereby receives a report from the Interim Fire Chief dated May 21, 2024 regarding a fire prevention officer update for information purposes. And further, that Council directs staff to execute an agreement with Mike Ross for the provision of fire prevention officer service until a replacement fire prevention officer has been hired. And further, that council authorize the Director of Finance / Treasurer to reallocate the fire prevention officer salary and benefits from the approved 2024 operating budget to inspections contracts to fulfill the terms and conditions of the agreement. May I have a mover and a seconder? Councillor McBurney, Councillor Whitfield, and at this time, are there any questions for our Deputy Interim Fire Chief? Our Interim Fire Chief, sorry. Go ahead. Anyway, okay, we'll start here, then go to Councillor Palmer. Okay, go ahead.
Thank you, through you, Reeve. Just a clarification, this will align with the future ambitions of the North Huron Fire Department as far as replacing that position of fire prevention officer internally, or is this just still going out for tender for?
Through you, Reeve, I believe this will still stay in line with the North Huron plan. Unfortunately, this came as a surprise, so you know, we're working through the details as well.
Thank you. And okay, follow up, sir.
Thank you, through you. What was the surprise part?
I didn't think he was leaving as soon as he said.
On that side, okay,
Yeah,
thank
yeah,
you.
Councillor Palmer.
Yeah, thank you, Rafe. Just in time. In the discussion part, you're still working with the other partners. So I'm just curious, how do you just vote on an individual that everybody agrees with? Is that the arrangement, or would you bring in somebody new? And I hated to read the words "or other arrangements." That spells a whole different route to me.
So through you, Reeve, the agreement is with Mike Ross to stay on contract, that we can call on his services anytime that we need. And any of the smaller duties I can fulfill on the duties of fire chief. And it's my understanding, with talking with Mike and myself and HR, have a meeting scheduled tomorrow with Mr. Ross to work out some of the other details, but the other municipalities will be covered as well.
Okay. Any other questions for our interim fire chief? Okay, a mover and a second, right? All in favor? Carried. Office of the CAO, 2024-11 North Huron Salary Grid Band 2 update. Are there any questions for our HR coordinator? Any questions? Oh, is it clear? Perfect. That the Council of Township of North Huron hereby receives a report from HR/Health and Safety Coordinator dated May 21, 2024 regarding an update to Band 2 of the 2024 salary grid for information purposes. And further, that council authorized the Human Resources, Health and Safety Coordinator to make the necessary amendments to Band 2 of the 2024 pay equity salary grid as presented in staff report CAO 2024-11. And mover, Councillor McBurney, seconder, Councillor Van Hitterson. All in favor? Carried. CS 2024-05, North Huron Deaccessioning Project, report number 11. Are there any questions for CAO Evans? Go ahead, Councillor Palmer, please.
Yeah, thank you, Reeve. Yeah, just how are they doing? Like that report that they gave, so many small items that would just drive you nuts. Are you getting along okay?
Yeah, through your Reef Heifer, project's going very, very well. We're now getting down into, in the previous report, some, more problem areas, just in terms of individuals, for example, who have donated items, but we're not sure if we actually own it or not. So we're trying to work through those. But for the most part, the project's going very well.
That was my question too. I just noticed one exhibitor, I call an exhibitor, a person gave 180 things and they had to type out 180 things. I thought, oh boy, that's work. But I'm happy to hear that they are going well. That's great. That the Council of the Township of North Huron hereby receives a report prepared by the Community Engagement Coordinator dated May 21, 2024 regarding the North Huron Museum Deaccessioning Project, report number 11 for information purposes. And further, that council authorized staff to continue with the deaccessioning process for the list of artifacts attached to the staff report CS 2024-05 following the North Huron Museum Deaccessioning Policy. Good. Mover, please. Councillor Van Hitterson, Councillor Whitfield, all in favor? Carried. Okay, 8.1 is the Multi-Municipal Energy Working Group Letter on Willing Host Declaration for Wind Turbine Projects. You want to talk on this, please?
Thank you, Your Worship. So as council's aware, the IESO is rolling out some more wind turbine intake projects. And so this group is looking for municipalities who declared themselves unwilling hosts in 2013. So in Ontario, there's 115 municipalities. North Huron was one of them, to reaffirm that stance. So at this time, council needs to provide direction as to whether the Township of North Huron would remain an unwilling host, or whether the intent is that North Huron would be a willing host for any new wind turbine projects within the municipality. And then basically staff would take that direction of council and communicate for the IESO to advise that to any potential applicants. So that way it's very clear what the township's stance is on new wind turbine projects. So 2 options for council, and I can craft a motion based on the letters as well as what council wants to proceed with.
Okay, for discussion then, members of council, do we have any input from anyone? Go ahead, Councillor Wright, please.
Not really my own thoughts, but I'd really actually like to hear from the councillors from East Wawanosh, because you would be primarily affected by this, right? So I wouldn't want to make a motion or defeat a motion without kind of hearing what the farmers are thinking out there, because they'll be the primary consideration, right?
Go ahead, Councillor Palmer, then we'll go to.
Yeah, thank you,
Let
Reed.
each of them talk.
Yeah, I was gonna speak about it. I was gonna make a motion too. It causes, a bunch of folks in Ashfield. Here's an example. I'll just use Ashfield as an example. There's a lot of families are upset with their own families because somebody wants one and somebody doesn't, and they don't speak anymore. And that is it's too bad that happens, but it will. It's our land. We don't have the flatter land that Ashfield say. I'm going to keep using Ashfield because we farm out that way as well. So the flatter land is more conducive to it. Lanes, if you have a nice 100-acre farm and they probably put 2 in, they'll go down, they might go down a fence line, but then they're going to shoot across to it because the unit has to be in the field by so many meters. That just ruins your field. And there's other ways. You have no say on how that will happen. You can guess, and they could just, we're going to go that way on an angle. Seen that. And that totally destroys a field and how you farm it. So there's those little things. The reimbursement just shows some positivity. You can be in that, I better not say, but it could be 20-ish. But what happens when the unit you have a contract, and what happens when the unit reaches the end of life? Nobody knows quite yet. And it's happening, it will be happening. In our report here, it mentions a timeline. It's the first bunch of them are going to happen in not too many years from now. Who's responsible? It could be thousands of dollars to get that, hundreds of thousands to take one down, or they refurb it themselves if they want to renew any contract that they happen to have with you. So that's the unknown. Yeah, so you either love them or hate them. That's how it is. And you'll suffer the consequences one way or the other, and you'll reap some benefit too. So I'm just trying to be semi-positive, but I'm not for them at all.
Councillor Van Henderson, please.
Yes, thank you, Reeve. Yeah, our geography is really rolling, so there's not much appetite for windmills as far as I know. I think for energy conservation, it's better if they would put their energy in solar panels on buildings for big barns, and we have plenty of those if they would do that. And our electricity grid is not really reliable in these Iswaran, so that would be really disturbing if there are more windmills coming up either. No, thanks.
Thank you. My only comment is that I used to work out where a lot of those things went up, and it is I concur with Councillor Palmer on that, but I know in 2 more years, I think we'd be able to answer it a lot better when that 20-year period comes up. Till then, I'm a no. Okay, go ahead. Any other questions from anybody here?
I would concur with Councillor Van Henderson. Solar panels, they're close to the roads usually, and they don't disturb the field as much. If you had it as a field unit or put them on buildings or close to them, like that's an alternative. If you're really into the green, that's a good one.
So could I turn it over to Clerk Lamb at this time and see what we want?
Ultimately, it's a motion from council, but I am hearing the sense that council's looking to move a motion to reaffirm that council's an unwilling host. So if that's the case, your motion would be, whereas the independent electrical system operator, the IESO, has proposed to move forward with 3 RFPs where new wind turbine projects can receive a contract from the IESO. And whereas people living near existing wind turbines report considerable impact on their lives due to noise and other emissions from the wind turbines, and whereas there are gaps in the enforcement of key terms of the renewable energy approvals governing existing projects relative to noise standards and resolution of complaints, And whereas municipal approval is required to locate one of these projects in the township of North Huron, now therefore be it resolved that the council of the township of North Huron hereby reaffirms that the township does not support the establishment of any new wind turbine projects within the municipality, and further that the IESO be directed to advise potential applicants of this resolution.
Mover, please. Counselor Palmer, Deputy Reeve, Faulkner, all in favor. Carried. Council reports. Is just great to see the SCADA arrival of the things our fire chief has brought in. They just got them here the other day, I think, for the quick turnaround of getting that. It's going to be good. Listen to the Deputy Reeve talk, or sorry, Deputy Fire Chief talk from Blythe there. He's very happy. It's going to extend a bit more time for them if they have to go into fire, and he gave a reason. They just had a fire there a week ago, and a gentleman had go up in the top floors and check everything that, you know, how much time does he have left? Well, these are going to help out a bit more with that. And thank you, Chad, for getting them here promptly for us. And just again, I'd like to give our condolences to Alice Monroe family. The girls have been very good dealing with the Alice Monroe programs that go on here and sending back some of her stuff for the town to make use of. And on the 2 days this week, we're at the Thrive Summit there. Vicky Lass, we all know Vicky Lass. She headed that up from the ECDEV department, and it was really great. She had great panels and opportunities and challenges of business transactions, and a panel she had of recruitment and retention. Again, just they picked out different people from different parts of the county, and it was just good. And again, a brick by brick panel they had there for building, and that was one from in town here. A gentleman, Van Roy, from down by below Kingsbridge a ways, by near Grand Bend area. And who's the other one? Oh, a guy, he fixes up, renovates homes in Goderich, and it was very interesting. I know I learned things that I probably should have done things differently, and I think one of the things that might be coming out that we're going to see, because there's new counselors all the time coming in on council, that they're going to have something out just so we can see what the people are thinking out there and why they're doing it. And again, the gentleman in town here, Mr. Hodgins, had real good stuff that, you know, I didn't ask him the right questions. So it was good hearing that. And again, kudos out to the ECDEV and there. I know our new ECDEV thing. She got to meet a lot of people down there, and I know there's other ones involved there, and I'm sure they're going to share things about that meeting. And also, I want to put a shout out to the Almost Famous. They had three programs on. I made it to the middle one. It wasn't quite filled up, but they said the last one was filled, and the previous one, the first one. But kudos out to Miss Hurd and Mr. Scott and Mr. Shaw. That the work they do with those adults, young adults, is just unbelievable, and it's just a great thing that happens in our own backyard. It's really great. And my last thing I'd like to just share with you, the Vance Fund is coming forward, and there's going to be 80,000+ going into the churches, 80-some thousand into the hospital or healthcare, and 128 into bursaries at the school up here for kids that go, I guess, in here, and I guess, and also the rec department's got 136. So you're going to be able to put in your requests for funding, try and get some of those funds. It starts in August, and it's open for 6 weeks. So there'll be more push on about that, and more contact put out for that too. Thank you. Is there any comments, verbal, written updates from members who sit on boards and committees? Go ahead, Councillor Van Henderson.
Thank you, Reeve. The Huron OPP Police Service Board had its first meeting. All the municipal members were sworn in. The application for local members is still open till the end of June. Maitland Valley Conservation Authority had their governance review last week, and they are preparing for their 75th anniversary in 2026. June the 1st is the Belgrave Community Yard Sale. all proceeds will be donated to the Belgrave Playground Committee. So that's another major fundraiser for that. I also was attending the Thrive Summit. I'm very interested. I really liked the presentation about placemaking, about creating community-based welcoming areas of belonging and beautification. And I think our local groups are doing a really good job in that, of making our little towns like Belgrade, Blythe and Wingham better and nicer. And there was a big presentation on immigration too. And it was a fantastic day to go to, for me, a day. Thank you.
Anybody else? If not, we'll go to comments by members. Go ahead, Deputy Reid, please.
Yes, thank you, Reeve. I'd just like to pass along to the North Huron staff a thank you for another great Airstreamers camp out in Blythe this past weekend. I talked to many of them on Main Street while they were here, and they love coming. So they love coming to Blythe and North Huron, and especially to the Blythe campground, because it's large enough that can accommodate those large Airstreamers. I just wanted to thank staff for making their stay here as comfortable as it was. So thank you.
Just happened to go past just when someone were pulling out there, and they all had smiles on their faces, and you're right, they are long, some of them. Great. Anybody else? Okay. Bylaw number 3520. Oh, notice of motions. Any notice of motions? Seeing none. Bylaw number 35, 2024 Recreation Program Service Agreement with Huron County. May I have a mover? Councillor Van Hitterson, Councillor Whitfield, all in favor? Carried. Bylaw number 36-24 Ice In, Ice Out Policy. May I have a mover? Councillor Wright? Councillor Palmer? All in favor? Carried. Bylaw number 37, 2024 Civil Marriage Solemnization Services. May I have a mover? Councillor Van Hitterson, Councillor Whitfield, all in favor? Carried. Bylaw number 38-2024 Flag Protocol Policy. May I have a mover? Councillor Deputy Reeve Faulkner, Councillor McBurney, all in favor? Carried. Next meetings and announcements will be held here on June 3rd, 2024 at 6 p.m. North Huron Council Chambers, 271 Francis Street. Next Wingham BIA Board meeting will be held on Thursday, June 20th, 2024 at 6:30 in the Hot Stove Lounge, North Huron Westcast Community Complex. Next Blythe BIA Board meeting will be held on Thursday, May 30th, 2024, 8 a.m. in the Blythe and District Community Center. The Township of North Huron and R.J. Burnside Associates Limited will be holding a public open house on May 29th, 2024 from 4 to 6 at the Blythe and District Community Center to discuss upcoming Mill Street Road construction project in Blythe. There will be no presentation, but attendees will have a chance to speak with staff and the engineers about the project. So whoever can make it there would be great. And are there any other announcements? Go ahead, Deputy Reeve Faulkner, please.
Yeah, thank you. Through you, Reeve. I'd just like to remind staff and council and the viewing audience of the coming up road closure on Highway 25 just outside of Blythe for the underpass reconstruction in Blythe. They'll be coming up very shortly. It's in shade now, yeah.
Yeah, that road will be closed for 26 days, they told us, and they have people going around on the county road. So yeah, it's going to be well publicized that. Okay, no closed session and reporting out. Conformatory bylaw number 39, 2024. Conformatory bylaw. May I have a mover? Councillor Wright, Councillor Van Hitterson, all in favor? Carried. Adjournment. That the council of the Township of North Huron agree that there being no further business before council, the May 21, 2024 regular council meeting be hereby adjourned at 7:09. May I have a mover? Councillor McBurney, Councillor Whitfield, all in favor?